And what do you do for a living?
Lieutenant, is there a 6-foot bat in Gotham City?
Nice outfit. I didn't ask. I have given a name to my pain.
What are you?
I'm Batman. Get those toys. My life is really complex. When freak terrorizes, will they get a load of me?
And welcome to episode 23 of the Movie Dawgs show. All right, folks, this is the one episode I have been waiting to do for quite some time, especially when it comes to this countdown to the Batman. We are going to talk about Batman 89, the 1989 Tim Burton classic that really redefined actually, the comic book superhero movie of the summer. I'm going to give you my thoughts on how well the movie may have aged and my memories. So this is also a little movie moments and movie memories, a little segment of the countdown to the Batman. All right, folks. Don't forget to support this channel by subscribing. Let's really make this year a big, big leap for the Movie Dawgs channel. And if you haven't also subscribed, also do so on Facebook. Like us on Facebook. And if you haven't yet, folks, check out our new sponsor, Fresh in the Flesh Tattoo. Check them out on the links below here. Don't forget, Tattoo Tony rocks, folks. And if you haven't yet, don't forget, like this video and hit the thumbs up, folks. Alright, folks, let's get to it. Alright, folks, Batman 1989 came out June 25th, 1989. I can remember literally for almost a whole year waiting patiently for this movie, gathering up every little article from the newspaper, magazine, you name it. This was one of those first movies as a kid that I was really waiting with anticipation. I mean, when it came to the Star Wars movies, I was still a little young to feel that, but when it came to Batman, I was really waiting for this film. I couldn't, I almost couldn't stand it. I can remember when hearing about who's going to be in this movie. I mean, Jack Nicholson. It was like my dad heard that. He's like, well, that's an obvious. That's probably the best casting I've ever heard. And just like, when it came to Marlon Brando, Jack Nicholson was brought there for the star factor and that. But when it came to Michael Keaton, as most people now know in recent memory, how everybody reacted when Ben Affleck was announced to be in Batman. And of course, I myself was a very big skeptic of Batfleck, sadly, and I just didn't see it. But thankfully, I got to see the movie, And I was blown away, and I was made a believer that Ben Affleck could pull it off. Well, the same could be said for Michael Keaton. A lot of people was like, Mr. Mom is going to be Batman. And that was just, it boggled the mind and scratched some heads, and I'm sure scratched a few people's asses at the same time. But again, Michael Keaton, he pulled it off. Michael Keaton's not a bad actor at all. He's a very, very good actor on top of being a very, very good comedian. But he knocked it out of the ballpark, and this was the second collaboration between Tim Burton and Michael Keaton. Just not too long before Batman came out, there was Beetlejuice, and that was Tim Burton's second film. And this Batman being Tim Burton's third. And, third time was a charm. It's definitely for Tim Burton. It wasn't for Batman 89. If it hadn't been a big success, or, we don't know what would have happened to Tim Burton. He'd probably been a lonely animator at Disney. But, this movie, I can remember standing in line for it, and, just the anticipation. I stood in line probably about an hour before it opened. This is before, in my town and everything, it wasn't, the big call for lines and stuff like that, but that didn't happen until, a decade later when it came to Star Wars Episode 1, which I stood in line for 6 hours. But I remember I got the folders, all the, spin-off media stuff that came along with it, the cereal, the toys, which I still have my Kenner Batman Dark Knight collection. Batman, I had the Batmobiles, and I still got my Earl Batwing diecast toy from that time. I still have my top souvenir magazine that I got that day at the movie theater that was handed out. The souvenir magazine that had Michael Keaton on the cover, and the logo itself was just, we had been so familiar seeing this logo, but for some reason, as you can see it right here, it was so much prominence, and it was just shiny, and it was just bold, and it looked like it can hurt you in a way. But it's just one of those big movie events that when it comes to comic book movies, it was 10 years past Superman, 1978 film, and now every film or every year there had to been that one big event film. Batman solidified that, being, there was a lot of big movies in the 80s, and this being the last year of that decade, Batman really, hit its stride, and it was, may have not have aged as well because, we've got the Dark Knight trilogy, which deconstructed Batman, put him back to his roots and his origins, but still the 89 film, was that template to where all other Batman movies need to strive and surpass. And of course, I think they've always managed to do that when it came to the rebooting of the character in film. Again, Michael Keaton as Batman, the costume was changed drastically from the blue, gray to, just all black. The only thing that was any color was the yellow around, of course, the bat crest on his chest, and of course his utility belt. Batman had so much cool gadgets. Of course, you can see the grappling hooks that he had in these films, and of course the mask and the cowl and everything. It just, it all just worked. I didn't, at first when I saw it, I was uncertain, and I can remember my mom going, "Oh, they got him all black." But when we saw it in motion and then in the movie itself, it made sense that, from now on, then they eventually adapted into the comic books, Batman's hood and cape would become black, and then he'd have dark gray when it comes to the tights. So now when it comes to Jack Nicholson's Joker, it was a bit more darker, but yet it still had that sense of the Cesar Romero Joker, the clownish Prince of Crime, and then of course it was more male violent, in this film and everything than he was on the TV show. But Jack Nicholson, he got paid a lot, but then of course the film was facing some cost cuts, and he did kind of agree to have his salary cut down, but he did get a lot of revenue from this film when it came to the spin-off sales and points given to him and everything. He made a lot of money at this time. Around this time, he was the highest paid actor in Hollywood, or if not the whole world. But he well deserved it, because he did do a lot of contributions to this film in the backgrounds, and did get a lot of things, cut corners, because he developed a really good friendship with Tim Burton, which he ended up being in another movie with Tim Burton called Mars Attacks, which is you guys have to check that out. It's really cool. First time I can ever see. It's the first time to me successfully the transferring of a card set into live action film. Unlike Garbage Pail's Kids, the movie, that was a disaster. But anyway, Jack Nicholson's Joker, I think, it set a bar of its own, and of course, about a decade and some later and everything, we'd end up passing that bar way over when it came to Heath Ledger's performance in The Dark Knight. Now, back in those days, no superhero movie was complete without the love story, but Sean Young was originally supposed to play the character Vicky Vale, and sadly she fell off a horse. I think she had broken her leg or injured her back, and Kim Basinger was brought in at the last minute. Of course, a decade later, she'd go on to win an Academy Award for LA Confidential, but I think I couldn't see anybody else now playing the character. I couldn't see Sean Young playing this character. And I do think that she did add some. It was mostly the movie was in her point of view. It wasn't much of Batman. I mean, they teased us with Batman a little bit. And they, he had them sprinkled out here and there, and it worked that way, because I couldn't see having Batman seen all the time. But Kim Basinger, she did do a really good, solid performance, and she held the movie together when Batman was not in there. So, but I do have to say, it's sad that she couldn't be in the rest of the movies, but of course, just like James Bond movies, the ladies have got to move along. Now, on the sets and stuff, when it came to Batman, they were kind of, more crude than, back then they looked very technologically, advanced, but they just, nowadays, how technology has moved on and moved forward and advanced, it still had this really nice grounded feel to it. You couldn't really date it, if you ask me. You couldn't really date Batman 89. It's a cross between the 1940s and the 1950s, a little bit of the 60s here and there, and 70s and 80s, all kind of meshed well together and everything. It was a really good way to, when it came to the cinematography, the lighting, and the production design, I think it was just absolutely amazing. Now, without talking about Batman 89, you cannot not talk about what is either called the Keaton Batmobile or the Burton Batmobile, or you can call it the 89 Batmobile. But seeing this for the first time when it came out in the press, it was, wow, what is this all about? There was no flashiness. You didn't have the red pinstripes, and it didn't say anything. I mean, the only features that were close enough to being Batman was, the hubcaps had the Bat logo on it, and of course the fins in the back that resembled the wings of a bat. But it just, something about this, even to this day, you can't put your finger on it, and it's just so mesmerizing looking at it. The sleek design is very aerodynamic, and it's huge. I mean, this thing looks like it just goes on forever. And I was always impressed by the way this is, and just the black and the boldness of it, and watching it, the gadgets and here and there. I mean, you get to see more of it in the next film in Batman Returns, but just its presence alone just spelt, don't get in my way. Now, I know a lot of people hated this about the film, and again, I was a kid. Didn't bother me that it strayed away from the comics a little bit by having the Joker, Jack Napier, be the killer of Batman's parents as Batman, as Bruce Wayne sitting in the cave, and he starts reflecting on something that Joker had said to him. The lines, "You ever dance with the devil in the pale of the moonlight?" Well, that triggered his memory and brought him back to that night. And of course, it's revealed that Jack Napier, the Joker, as a young man, was the one that pulled the trigger and murdered Batman's parents. A lot of people, again, were, purists, were outraged. But again, as a kid, it just added to the film. Added more of the mystery and the suspense and the plots and the twists. So I was okay with it. Unlike, the Vicky Vale in the Batcave brought in by Alfred. Yeah, that kind of aggravated me a little bit. And there have been a lot of jokes since then. Albert Brooks did a great joke about Kevin, not Kevin Smith, but oh god, I can't remember that comedian's name. But anyway, there've been a lot of jokes and tricks about and skits about Alfred bringing Vicky Vale into the Batcave. But all in all, I do think that this film, it still holds up. I mean, of course, the Dark Knight trilogy, really redefined and has its own big stamp in Batman lore and in films, most definitely. But I don't think that you should not just ignore this film at all. If you're a Batman fan, definitely check this film out still. I mean, it's still, as I said, it still has a moment for me in time. It's, that young kid and everything. I was so eager to see this movie. Waited a whole year until it came out, until I saw that teaser trailer during the Super Bowl that year, where, the trailer that, was bootlegged and sold at comic conventions. And it was just, for me, it's always going to be a big, special film in my heart. Now, I'm very eager to see what Michael Keaton's going to bring back to this, because he is going to be reprising this Batman, not once, but twice in the year or two to come. And Ezra Miller's Flash, and then, of course, the HBO Max movie Batgirl, which will be in the DCEU at the same time. So I'm eager. And again, once again, a little anticipated, is brewing inside me and everything for those films to see, how can an older Michael Keaton betray the Dark Knight. And again, you had to give it up for Tim Burton. He pulled it off. It was a very hard film to make. It took 10 years to get this film going. And you look on the Batman supplemental materials on the DVDs of the movie and everything, and it gives you the whole story of how the process of getting this film made. So I don't think it really would have happened if Tim Burton hadn't done it. So I always give kudos, even though he wasn't a comic book fan, but he was inspired by the works of Dark Knight Returns and The Killing Joke. So I don't want to rough on him too bad about it. Once again, don't dismiss this film and everything. Yes, it's over 30 years old, but don't dismiss it, and do give it a shot and everything. It's a great piece of of American cinema, and it's it's one of those watermark moments in comic book history and on film. So I'd say check it out, folks. And if you haven't seen it in a while, see it again. Especially it's Batman season. We got the new Matt Reeves one coming out, so I'd say check it out, folks. All right, folks. Well, again, do check it out. Again, we got more of this coming along. Do subscribe, like, and hit that thumbs up. All right, folks. That's the Movie Dawgs Show. Thanks for watching. And please keep on watching, folks. Until next time. Bye.